All right, today we're going to unravel the story of a homeopathic profile called Antimonium Crudum. Now, what's so fascinating about this one is how it all hinges on a single central issue. It's like a detective story where one clue, a disordered stomach, unlocks and explains a whole bunch of other things that seem totally unrelated.
So let me just start by asking you this. What if I told you that one simple physical sign could give you a complete picture of someone's health? I mean, both physically and emotionally? It sounds a little far-fetched, I know. But for Antimonium Crudum, there's one key clue that points to everything else.
And this is it. The big telltale sign is a tongue that's thickly coated with this milky white film. Some of the old texts even describe it as looking whitewashed. Now, this isn't just some minor detail. It's considered the main flag, the thing that tells you something much deeper is going on. This quote from Dr. J.T. Kent just nails it. He says, "You will be surprised to notice that all the symptoms seem to center about the stomach." So that white-coated tongue, it's not random. Think of it as a giant arrow pointing directly at a core problem in the digestive system. And that brings us right to the heart of the matter, a disordered stomach. You can kind of think of it like the central processor in your computer. You know, if the CPU starts malfunctioning, it's going to affect every single program and function connected to it. Well, in this profile, the stomach is that CPU. So, if the stomach is the core issue, then it makes sense that what you put into it matters a lot. For the Antimonium Crudum profile, certain foods are known to make everything worse. We're talking about things like pork, heavy breads and pastries, sour foods, acids, vinegar, and especially sour wine. These things can really upset the system and trigger that whole cascade of other symptoms. And you know, when that internal system gets aggravated, the effects don't just stay on the inside. They start showing up on the body's exterior, and you really see it on the skin and the nails. The nails tell a really interesting part of this story. According to the sources, they start to grow really slowly and just get out of shape. They're described as brittle, discolored. They can even start growing in splits or develop these weird horny spots. It just goes to show how a deep internal problem can show up in the smallest, most external parts of our body. The skin follows a really similar pattern. There's this tendency to form hard, horny patches and calluses. You see it a lot on the soles of the feet, which can become super tender to walk on. Horny warts can pop up, and you also might see cracks forming in the corners of the mouth and the nostrils. And again, it all tracks back to that central issue in the stomach. But you know, this story isn't just a physical one. This internal imbalance is also said to have a huge effect on the mind and emotions, and it creates this very specific and often really contradictory personality. The primary mood here is often just extreme irritability. The person, especially if it's a child, is described as being peevish, cross, and just impossible to please. They literally cannot bear to be touched. They don't even want to be looked at, and any attempt to make them feel better just makes them angrier. Now, to really get this type of irritability, it helps to compare it to another profile you might know, chamomilla. A chamomilla child is also super cross, right? But they want to be held, they want to be soothed. The Antimonium Crudum child is the total opposite. They will scream and throw a fit at any attempt at attention. The message is crystal clear, just leave them alone. Okay, but here's where it gets really peculiar. This super cross, touchy individual has a completely different side. The sources describe this strange duality, a tendency to get all dreamy, ecstatic, and super sentimental. And this is often triggered by moonlight. It's so specific. They might even get this irresistible urge to talk in rhymes or verses. It's this wild contrast between being untouchably angry and then dreamily sentimental that makes this profile so memorable. So, we've seen how food can be a trigger, but it's not the only thing. The environment also plays a huge role in making the symptoms of this profile much, much worse. The list of triggers is pretty specific. The heat from the summer sun is a major one. Same with radiated heat, like from an open fire. In fact, one source mentions that just looking into a fire can make a cough worse. How wild is that? Cold bathing is another big no-no, along with overeating, which brings us right back to the stomach, and of course, touch. So, we've looked at the skin, the nails, those contradictory moods, the environmental triggers. Now, let's tie it all back together to that one single unifying principle. At the end of the day, what we've been looking at is a picture of a gastric disturbance. This is the big idea. A single issue in the stomach can ripple outwards and affect the entire person. That milky white tongue is the signpost. The
The skin and nails are the physical proof, and that cross-sentimental mind is the emotional expression of this one core problem.
So this whole explainer kind of leaves us with a pretty provocative thought. According to this profile, the stomach isn't just some organ for digestion. It can be the absolute center of our physical and emotional world. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If that's the case, what are we feeding it in every sense of the word?